Except my STEEZ know what's going on. Yes, Laura, bringing you the game reviews for Super Sunday, the Sunday ticket, I should say, for round 6. This week has been kind of weird as far as scheduling goes, so we only had 2 games this week. The first game being Sydney hosting at the SCG, Port Adelaide, and coming into this game, I expected Port to really run away with this game. Port has looked like they turned their season around from the slower start that they've had. Zach Butters has changed the midfield, and every time he's on the ground, he looks like potentially best on ground candidate, one of the best on the field for sure. And I just think they look more put together and more organized at this stage in the season than Sydney has. Sydney still hasn't worked out their forward issues. They haven't, and just considering that they've been playing like a former ruckman at forward, multiple former ruckman at forward, former center half back at forward, and it just hasn't really looked good. Also, just given the fact that they lost Joel Amartey, he's out. They don't have Papley, so there's definitely a lot of forward issues going on at Sydney. So I didn't expect them to really put up too much of a fight in this game, and that's really how the game really went in the beginning of the game, at least. Sydney just wasn't able to really do shit. They were just banging it down the line. Didn't have any creativity as far as ball movement goes. It was very predictable ball movement, and Port was able to just stamp all that out. Just being able to intercept the ball, and I think Radagalier and Aliir really had the time of their lives, if you will. We're having great. It was really easy on the Port defense, and Sydney was having their opportunities and going, but they just weren't able to get anything out of it. Whereas on the opposite end, Port was playing good, bro. Their ball movement was good, and they just been playing consistent footy, able to move the ball against the Sydney defense and find a mark inside 50. But that being said, Sydney did get better with each quarter. So Chad Warner was quiet, bro. You didn't really get what you wanted out of Chad. You know, Chad is very pivotal, I think, to Sydney's success, and he was very quiet in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, they definitely put up a better fight. Were able to put up more points, get their ball movement going a little bit better, but they still weren't able to stop Port, and Port was still putting points on the board. And also that second quarter, that Isaac Heaney was a little more quiet this time. So they weren't really able to get the best out of their best players, although while looking to get their offense better nonetheless. And Sydney was really – the problem with Sydney was they were actually winning possession too. They were up contested possession by a heavy margin, I think, at halftime. And but just the difference between them and Port was able to get the ball to the outside to transition the ball forward. And Sydney, on the other hand, was just not able to do that. So there was good signs of potentially making a comeback as long as they were able to just play good defense and stop Port. And Port was on the opposite spectrum. They played great in the first half. They had high pressure and stuff like that. But really, as the second half went on, their pressure waned. And that allowed Sydney to really play a decent game and really get into it. Really, at the end of the third quarter, it was still a heavy margin. I want to say it was about 29 points or 30, around 30 points, the margin. And Sydney still hadn't looked like they figured out their forward issues. Like, Will Hayward had his moments where he looked good. But they ended up finding the hero, Sydney. Obviously, as the score tells, they came up a little short. But they may have figured out an answer. Hayden McLean did look good this game as far as being able to take marks inside 50 and having shots at goal as well. But Aaron Francis in the fourth quarter, he had 4 goals, and Port looked like they were on the ropes, man. Sydney was chipping at the lead, and Aaron Francis was getting goal after goal after goal, and Isaac Heaney was looking like he stepped his game up, and you could tell that they really wanted it, man. And they had plenty of opportunities. They just weren't able to be that efficient with their scoring. There was situations. I think it was like 3 different times that you see Nick Blakey have his patented little lizard run or whatever the case is, and go for goal, but not being accurate enough to really finish the job and get the 6 points. So they definitely had the opportunities. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for Sydney. They looked much better, though, I'll say that. So I wonder if Aaron Francis will be featured in the side, not as a sub, but as a starter in the best 22, best 18. And Yeah, it's just the mistakes plagued Sydney. I think Port really just played good enough in the first half, and that's really about all they did, to be honest. To really just have the margin heavy enough to stop Sydney from making a large comeback. And yeah, they really got lucky. I'll say that. Hayden McLean dropped a mark right inside 50 that really touched his hands, and potentially could have changed the outcome of the game as long as they were able to win out of center. And Sydney was doing that in the fourth quarter, especially. They were winning the center clearances, and the game really just flipped the script, flipped on its head. And it's just unfortunate for Sydney that they weren't able to get the job done. So hopefully they learn from this. Hopefully they learn that, you got to play more of a complete game if you want to win. And you can't play half a game unless you're Port Adelaide. So, yeah, that's pretty much how that game went, man. It was definitely tough. It was entertaining towards the end, but I didn't see Sydney making that comeback, and so that was a nice little surprise. Next game, we had the Western Bulldogs versus the St. Kilda Saints. And coming into this game, I was expecting a very tight contest, a very physical, and a game where both teams gave it a crack and wouldn't give up, considering I think both teams kind of built their identity, at least from what I've been seeing this season. The Dogs have been impressive, being able to put up this type of effort every week, night in, night out, despite not having the caliber of players that they have, Marcus Bontempelli and Adam Treloar, amongst others. And the Saints they just give it a crack, man, despite not having the most talented side, but even beating teams with bigger names on them on paper even beating teams that they should lose to on paper, just given that the effort that they have been putting up all season, for most of the season. And so I was expecting a ding-dong affair, if you don't mind. And it was. I guess it really necessarily wasn't, but the first 10 minutes, the Saints got up to a strong start. They had 4 quick goals, if you want to call them quick goals, but they looked like they could potentially be putting the Dogs to the sword early, and the Dogs were still trying to find their footing in the game. But after that 10 minutes, bro, the Dogs really piled up, just decided that we're not about to go like this, man. And Bontempelli, it's crazy how much of a difference that Bontempelli makes. I don't think you can highlight enough Bontempelli's impact on the game, man. He just affects every single thing, every single facet of the game, whether it's defensive work, inside 50s. Really, it doesn't matter, bro. He can roll up forward. He can take a mark inside 50, and he had a great game, man. It was crazy to see. I want to say he had like 30 disposals, and first game back, you would have thought that he never even missed a game. There was no rust to be shedded off for the skipper, if you don't mind. And the Saints, they just really got killed in every facet of the game after that 10 minutes, man. It was really bad. I was actually very disappointed to see the effort that the Saints had put up this game. And the Dogs just had a well-balanced attack, bro, everywhere, bro. But all good things do come with the cost. I think this whole game, despite how great that the Dogs played, and they had a 127-56 point win, and that's a big margin. But I still think the story of this match is going to be Sam Darcy going down with injury. Early in the game, in the first quarter, he ended up having a knee injury, like he hyperextended his knee, and there's rumors and speculation that he tore his ACL, which I hope not, because he's been having a great season so far, and he's still young, and you really hate to see the Dogs lose a key player after getting one back, and you would just look. I think everybody would like to see Bontempelli kick to Sam Darcy in the fourth half. So he obviously didn't return in the game. He got subbed out pretty early, and I think that will be the story of this game. But nonetheless, Aaron Naughton stepped up. Like as soon as it happened, it seemed like Aaron Naughton was back to his pat crashing self. His recklessness just showed, and he was able to be a feature forward up front. And he's been having a little slow season, and it's actually good to see that he I wouldn't say put the team on his back, but he took the responsibility and recognizing that his role just got a little bit bigger with Big Darcy out. But yeah, just all around, bro. Like not Adam Treloar, but Matt Kennedy and Joel Frazier had a great game. Bailey Dale had a great game. Bailey Williams, Marcus Bontempelli, and you could just list a lot of players just on the team that had a great impact on the game. And the Dogs look very dangerous. They looked good, and we always respected that they'll give it a crack. But now that they got Bontempelli, they looking like they're one of them teams that you definitely have to game plan for it, and that they're a force to be reckoned with, man. So at the end of the day, the Dogs definitely have my respect more so now as well, and they're not going to be easy to tip against, just given the impact that Marcus Bontempelli that he has on the game and what a quality player that he is. So, yeah, man. Overall, just disappointed with the Saints. I hope this isn't the point where they fall off in the season. Just similar to Gold Coast, they have strong starts, and then at some point in the season, they just fall off and can't quite get the form that they started with. So I'm keeping an eye on the Saints to see if this is the loss that broke them. And, yeah, man, that's really all I got. It was not a ding-dong affair at all, although it was quite entertaining to see the Dogs play at the level that they did. So, yeah, man, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube shit. We got one more game coming up tonight, and that's Geelong versus the Hawks. I'm hoping it'll be a cracker. Hope it'll be a great game, man. And, yeah, y'all tune in.